Well, hello, and welcome to the PJH Writing Command Center. And I am John Hausleben of God Bless the Keg Publishing LLC, and we are thrilled you are here to join us for this episode of the God Bless the Keg Publishing LLC podcast. Woo! And we have a crowd gathered here today, and we're thrilled you're here. If you are a subscriber or regular listener, welcome back. If this is your first time tuning in to the podcast, then welcome. And we're thrilled you're here today. I am John Hausleben of God Bless the Keg Publishing LLC. I am your host for this podcast. I am the flagship author, chief photographer, chief cook, bottle washer, do everything guy, music critic, music reviewer, with a little help from my friends at God Bless the Keg Publishing LLC. And welcome to the podcast. Today, I have a little rant here because I have a pre-rant to the major rant. So I guess I have to categorize my rants. So I got an email from a reader. I received an email, and I have to say it was really eye-opening because the last flash fiction book I wrote, I put more humor in it. I went back to the offbeat Paulie humor that I used to write so many years ago. And people had accused me of being too dark, too emotional. They enjoyed the books and everything. But where's Paul's humor? Where's that offbeat, weird, on my mom's side, little English humor, a little Monty Python there, the absurdities. And this reader said, Paulie, I loved a bowl full of marbles, the latest flash fiction, which was flash number 5. And I did jolly it up a bit, and I put some offbeat humor pieces in there, and it touched this reader, and the reader really enjoyed it and sent me a nice email, and I thank you for that. But they said that your observations of the absurdities of life, particularly 2 stories, one is called Heavenly Baseball, and the other one is an interview with an evil, mad scientist. And they really enjoyed those pieces, saying that it was a throwback to the old Paulie and how you observe and poke fun at yourself, but also the absurdities of life. And this morning, after I read those emails, I guess timing is everything in life, because I received this email spam in my regular email inbox, which was really an absurdity of life. Here we are in Central Virginia. I am recording this on the 19th of July. It is bloody awful summer. It's just beyond belief. It's horrendous. Every single day is 90, 95, 97. Humid like a tropical rainforest. Torrential monsoon downpours in the afternoon, and poor people losing their electricity, and trees coming down, and it's just horrible. There's nothing enjoyable about the summer, and I despise the summer anyway, so it's amplified. But at any rate, I'm looking at my little weather station. It's 96 right now, 96 degrees. So in my inbox this morning, and I knew it was coming. I kind of prepped myself for this stuff, and I knew it was coming. And sure enough, there it was, the first pumpkin spice email of the season. And I forget what they were peddling, pumpkin spice something or other, but that's what I want to touch upon. The absurdity of an email, and the marketing folks, man, maybe they're a lot smarter than Paulie is. I don't know. But I'm telling you, Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. Marketing Genius, I am not shopping for pumpkin spice anything. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. Although I wish I could get the Infinity Stones from Thanos and turn time forward. The time stone. I need the time stone because I want to go back and I want to go forward. But I would go right to October and I'd be pumpkin spice Paulie. Right now, I need ice cubes, I need cold beer, and air conditioning. That's what I need. because it's disgusting outside. So, but at any rate, the absurdities of life. So there's my rant. And speaking of commercials, get your little Orphan Annie decoder pins out. And here we go. We are proudly sponsored today by Corporate Facilities Group Incorporated, the leader in technical consulting, facility maintenance, facility management, property services throughout America. And now CFG Incorporated is proud to announce that they now offer pre-construction services for both residential developments, light commercial developments, and projects, headed up by the amazing Steve McMillan at CFG Incorporated. Give it up for Steve. There you go. Good job, Steve. Check it out on the web at www.corporatefacilitiesgroup1.com. www.corporatefacilitiesgroup, that's the figure 1.com. And we thank all the great folks at CFG Incorporated, Lydia, Steve, and Liliana for supporting the podcast. Thank you so much. So there we go. And today, I talked about absurdities of life and a little rant. So today's a rant. And when I used to write my blogs years ago, I would jump from subject to subject to subject. Sort of like I write in genres. I jump from subject to subject to subject. Whatever's on my mind. If I want to write fantasy, I write the fantasy. If I want to go back to Harry and Paul, which I may, I don't know. I write that. I got the crime drama with Odell. I have even romance. Yeah, I had to clear my throat. Romance. Yeah, Paulie's actually written some romance. Not my favorite. We have military stories. We have sports. We have all kinds of different genres. Whatever comes in my mind, I write. So when I did my blogs, I jumped from subject to subject. But every couple of blogs, I would pick up this one theme, which we called my view from the Writing Command Center. PJH's view from the Writing Command Center, I think it was called. But in those blogs, I would focus on something current, and I would go into a rant. Now, on this podcast, I jump from subject to subject. Sometimes we talk about the old man and nostalgia. We've talked about sports and current things, and I've ranted about hockey and different things here and there. So today, I want to talk about the modern workplace. And it's a place that I find difficult to navigate. And honestly, I'm going to fess up that, I'm old. I'm old now. I wasn't as old as I was yesterday, but now I'm old today. And Father Time is undefeated, yeah. And I do look back on things fondly. And I had a discussion with my buddy Tony about that. And I said, I guess I do dwell in the past because I look back on those things fondly, and I write about them and talk about them and dwell upon them and speak about them because things nowadays just don't hit the same nerve. And it makes me a little sad. In the modern workplace, I'm the first to admit life has passed me by. It's just passed me by. I do not understand the modern workplace. And in my primary source of income, I'm very, very blessed to walk around this beautiful office space and be part of this beautiful, beautiful office building. And I look around, and it's recently renovated and new construction and beautiful furniture and beautiful finishes on the wall and wallpaper and refreshment rooms and just the best of everything. And it's all brand new and fresh and recently updated. And I walk around there and I feel wonderful about it. But the sad part is I don't understand what goes on there. Only a handful of people come into the offices these days. And even though the companies have spent all this money and made these beautiful grandeur places for people to work, and that's coming from a guy who worked in some sweatshops. The first electrical shop I worked in, it was hot and it was sticky and it was cold in the winter. And we had an old, like a coal stove to try to heat it up and keep us warm. And I look around at these beautiful workplaces and I'm like, my gosh, I'd be thrilled to come into work to a place like this. And I don't understand the workplace. I don't know what's going on. And, they got these little docking station things and they have two monitors on these telescoping arms and they plug their little laptop in there and they go to work. And I don't understand it. And that's on my part. It's me. It's about me. The life has passed me by and I admit that. But there's no pens. There's no pencils. There's no notepads. There's no staplers or tape or staple removers or all the things you used to see in an office years ago. And when I started years ago and moved from the trades into sort of a corporate environment with the world famous camera manufacturer, I moved from being the plant electrician in the warehouse and they moved me into the corporate facilities maintenance department. And, there was what we called secretary's row. And no, I can't get the time stone from Thanos, so I can't turn back time, but I can remember it as vivid and my memory is keen, and that's both a blessing and a curse. But we had Secretary's Row, and Secretary's Row was looked like 10 bowling alleys put together. This narrow hallway, and it was all the administrative assistants, or as they were called, secretaries back then, typing away on wooden desks with electric typewriters. And the wooden desks had a typing return, and I used to have to maintain them and take the typewriters out and bring them to a service shop and clean them and maintain them. And all you'd hear was the clickety clack, click, 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 as these gals, mostly it was women working as assistants to all the executives. And I don't think we're going to go back to that era. Obviously not. But I don't understand what people do. They come to work and it's like endless meetings and endless talking. And when the few people that do come into the office, all I hear is them complain about how it's churn. Nothing gets done. It's just like mindless. And then there's the spreadsheets and the endless technology. And there was a technology failure because of a storm that passed through and the electricity went off and the servers couldn't reboot on their own. And everybody just stood around. It couldn't work. There was nothing to do until the technology came back. And it's just so different than what it used to be. And like I said, I'll reinforce it another time. Life has passed me by in a modern workplace I just don't understand. And I was working with my assistant, Amber, who's filling in for Callie Rose. And Amber is a brilliant young lady, and she made a great observation. We were working on invoicing, and we were working on spreadsheets. And I don't understand the infatuation with spreadsheets. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And Amber made a great observation because she's a brilliant young lady. And she said, Paulie, if we had the old forms where we took our pen and they were carbons and you had a yellow copy and you had a pink copy and you had a white copy and they had the little paper between them that had the ink, and we wrote on them and we just put it in an envelope and sent it to the customer and then kept the other copies for our files, it would be a lot quicker than typing all this stuff into the spreadsheet, which takes forever. I could write it quicker. And you know something? She's right. She's absolutely right. And it seems to me that the modern workplace is just something that creates a lot of churn, and it creates a lot of unnecessary steps. Email. email after email after email after email. It's like playing a tennis game with somebody, and you push the ball over the net, and then they hit the email back to you and you hit it back to them. I remember a year or two ago, I was emailing with a gentleman who happened to be sitting in an office in back of me. And it went back and forth, back and forth. And finally, I just said, okay. And I stood up and I walked over 25 feet, opened the door, went through the door, and I sat in his office. And I said, Mike, just tell me what you want. And he looked at me. He's a bit younger than me. And this is what those folks were taught. They were brought up in this era. I said, Mike, just tell me what you want. It's quicker for us to talk. We only sit 20 feet from each other. Why do we have to email back and forth? Just come over and sit in my office and tell me what's going on. It's just remarkable to me. And then we get to the whole, and in my book Experiences, Essays on My Life, I touched upon, there is a chapter in there, an essay in there, and it's my views from the Writing Command Center. And one of the things I touched on was COVID. And I went through COVID and I was on the front line. I'm not going to go into that right now, but it changed everything. Obviously, it changed the entire world. And now we're in post-COVID or after COVID or whatever you want to call it, and I can't figure anything out. It almost is worse than when it was COVID. And the work from home thing, the whole working remote. And for people who are on the front lines, I find it hard to relate to the remote work. And it's time to get over that. It's time to get back to normal. It's beyond time for that. And I just think that certain business has to be conducted in person. And you have these beautiful office space like I just talked about, and a handful of people come in and enjoy it. And I feel sorry for people. We're human beings, and to a certain extent, we're social. And we need interaction. And business needs that. They need input. They need collaboration. They need people speaking about ideas. And I get it. You're home. You're in your own home, and it's kind of cool at first. And, you can pop open a beer. You can watch Netflix. You can get one of those apps that makes your mouse move around. You can hop down to the corner grocery. You can walk the doggy when you want. You can put laundry in when you want. You can take a little nap, and nobody's going to know about it. But eventually, the cows come home to the barn. And I think it's starting to happen in life now. I had a great privilege to interview a young lady a brilliant young gal who has multiple college degrees, and she went through the whole COVID thing and working from home. And she was very, very honest, very, very forthright. And she said, Paulie, at first it was great. It was so romantic. I felt, unleashed, and I could do what I want. And then it dragged on and it dragged on, and it went on and on and on. And it started to affect me. I would see my coworkers on the video, on the whatever, and it just wasn't the same. And she said, then I started to become introverted. And I started to find myself depressed. And I didn't want to leave my home. And she's a very beautiful, attractive woman. She said, I didn't take care of myself. I didn't have a purpose. I didn't go to work. I didn't have to buy new clothes. I didn't have to look fancy. I didn't have to put makeup on. I didn't do those normal things that I did for all these years. And she was with this particular company for over 10 years. And her job performance started to get affected to the point where she couldn't correct it. She said, I didn't get FaceTime with my bosses. I didn't show them what I could do. They didn't appreciate my work, and I didn't appreciate the company anymore. And she eventually lost the position. And it was very heartfelt. It was very, very touching. And I made notes, copious notes of that. And maybe I'll write about that somewhere down the road. I'm flirting with another experiences. But I took that to heart. And as a person that's a regimented person, I get up the same time. I go to work early and I do the things and I write my books and I do my podcasts and I do my photography and I do my primary source of income. I would be lost if I didn't have that regimentation. And I think back at the world famous camera manufacturer, and I had a boss there who was a brilliant man, brilliant guy, taught me a lot about business. And we would go for these presentations up to these big fancy conference rooms. And I'm a fish out of water. I go from being an electrician and a tradesman and work my way up. And it's not before you know it. I put in a lot of hard work and holidays and Christmas days and worked on birthdays and responded to emergencies in the middle of the night and all the things you do to work up the corporate ladder or whatever you want to call it. And I was an executive. I was director of facilities and corporate security. And here I am. I'm sitting in front of all these big executives and the bean counters and the accountants and the CFO and the controllers. And my boss is presenting our capital expenditures to this board. And we're projecting all this costs, new roofs, new sewer pipes, new generators, maybe a chiller upgrade. This is not romantic stuff. This is behind the scenes stuff. And we don't sell cameras. We don't make any revenue. We're like just a constant debit. We never have a credit. But when a roof leaks in a building, it's a really unpopular thing. So it's necessary, and he's presenting our case, and it's a lot of money, millions of dollars across all the portfolios of the buildings. And he would detect the CFO just to make a little, a little nod at the shoulder or a little grimace, and boom, he changed on a dime and changed the subject and changed the demeanor based upon the interaction of the big chief guy. You can't do that over the video. You can't sense that. Certain business needs to be done in person. And I just think it's really affecting customer service. It's affecting the work ethic. It's affecting people. It's dragging on and on and on. I can't get through to customer service. It's bad enough when I get them on the air and the artificial intelligence doesn't understand my accent, and I got to keep going over and over. I got a gal on the phone the other day, and she's a dispatcher for a contractor. I'm trying to put a service call in, and her dog is barking in the background so badly she can't hear me. She said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. The mailman or the UPS guy or the delivery guy's out there and the dog don't like him." It's just a different world. And it's passed Paulie by. And I don't understand the things that are happening. And recently I've been privileged to hire some young folks. And these folks have come up through, I'm going to call it what it is. They went through COVID during school, be it high school or college or whatever. And they tell me these stories and they tell me this testimony of what they went through. And I really, really feel bad for them. They don't have the same experiences. They didn't have marching band. They didn't have football. They didn't have soccer. They didn't have prom. They didn't have dances. They didn't have the things. They didn't have the book club and the drama club and the plays and the orchestra and the things, because it was all COVID shutdowns and either right, wrong, and different. I'm not going to get into that right now. My old man always said, don't discuss money, religion, politics. It's a great way to lose friends. And I have my own thoughts and my own opinions. But regardless of that, the effect it had on these young people, it's profound. And now they're applying for jobs. And they tell me of the futility of it. And, they put their resumes out there, and one gal has a master's degree and she can't get a job. And it's all artificial intelligence that screens these resumes and these applications, and they don't make the cut. And they never get interviews. They never get in front of people. It's very, very sad. And people need to wake up. There's great talent out there. There's great young people who need a chance. Talk to them in person. Bring them in for an interview, because the AI doesn't make the screening thing. All these people are cast aside. And then they get frustrated and they just take whatever job they can get, making whatever they can make. And I guess I'm a businessman. I became a businessman by default. So an ROI is very important to me. I'm going to give you X. I'm going to pay you X. And what are you going to give me? Can I make money on it? Can I make my business a few coins? What's my return on my investment? So this young gal, she has all this student debt and all these student loans, and she's got all this stuff she's got to pay back. And someday she wants to maybe get married and have a dog and have children and have a house and have a car and have all the things in life. And she's shouldered with this insurmountable debt. And when she does get this job, it pays her just, not really even a living wage, not only to live, but to pay back all she has. I've got to think, and I have great respect for education, great respect. I have some education myself. But I have to think that these colleges, these universities are selling these kids up the river. They're giving them mortgages with no equity. And I can see you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're an accountant, you're an attorney, you're a physicist who can concoct formulas to blow up the world. Certain things you need all this education for. And I have great respect for that. But why does the guy whose family owned a delicatessen in New Jersey for 50 years, and his grandfather and his uncle and his dad worked there and he worked there, and then they finally decide to retire and sell the business, and he wants to go out on his own, and he's going to be applying to be the manager at the local restaurant, the chain restaurant. And I'm sorry, you don't qualify. You don't have bachelor's or a master's degree in restaurant management or whatever. This young man and his family could probably teach the professor at the university restaurant management. The professor probably never managed a restaurant in his life. It just seems so profound. And me as a tradesman, learning to be an electrician, learning to be an electronics tech. And I could go out there and make a fantastic wage and support my family and have good things in life and not have to pay back all these unbelievable loans and all this debt and all this stuff these young people are shouldered with. It's just, it's profound. And I don't know the answer. I'm just a guy from Paterson, New Jersey. But, my mom always said I'm too logical. And I guess the logic finally catches up with me. But I look at all this crazy stuff going on now, and I don't like the direction that it's headed. And talking to these young people that don't have these opportunities and these chances, and they have all this great education, and I feel really, really sorry for them. Had a couple beers with a gentleman who's working on a construction site right around the corner from where I go for my primary source of income, and we just happened to be chatting, and he's what my old man would call a hard hat, pickaxe and hard hat guy. And we were talking about working outside in this ungodly weather and this terrible summer, and how the construction is so far behind because of downpours and rain and all the stuff that we talked about. And then he said to me, I'm really frightened for my children. He said, I'm just a construction guy, but I make a good living. I make a lot of money. And I have 2 teenage kids, and I'm trying to teach them and trying to lure them to the trades. And my one son is kind of interested in HVAC, and my other son he likes electricity and plays with the experiments and things in school, science and such. And I said, why not pursue the trades? Because, and this really hit, because he said, this AI thing scares me. And if you don't have to climb a ladder or plunge a toilet or operate a crane, or you could get cut and bleed and hurt on your job and get sliced by a piece of conduit. Your job might be in danger with all this AI coming in. Think about the trades. And I was like, wow, yeah, he really hit upon a nerve. That's scary stuff out there for all these office people and all these people that are doing even like coding. Can a robot and the AI do the coding? Where's this all headed? The modern workplace. Where are the jobs going to go? Where are the jobs going to come from? It's very profound. And, that's my rant. And I'm almost out of time. But I did have another discussion with an interesting fellow who was from Wales. And I can speak a little Welsh, I'm not going to go into that too deep, but my grandfather and such. But we started chatting a bit, and he was telling me about his business. And he's was traveling, but we were having dinner and a couple drinks at the bar. And he was telling me about what his company does. And we got talking about the remote work and the work from home stuff. And I was curious. So I said, what's it like over in the UK? He said, well, they're trying to get people back, but it's like the Frankenstein monster was created. And they put the wrong brain, and now they're like, oh my goodness gracious, Frankenstein. We put the wrong brain in you. Come on back to the lab and we want to redo it. Well, Frankenstein's having a pretty good old time out there. He's destroying stuff. And it's not easy to get them back in the lab. It's hard to get the people back. They've had a good time for years. He said, and despite what the social media and the internet says, we have discovered that it's about 20% less productive for people working from home. And my buddy Harry, the great Harry, he always says, Paulie, you can go out on the internet and find anything you want to support your own idea. If you want to find somebody who thinks the Jets are going to win the Super Bowl this year, you can go out, and if you Google enough and search enough, you're going to find a sports writer who says, hey, this is the year for the New York Jets. And Harry's right. If you search enough, you're going to find somebody who agrees that the earth is flat, or there's aliens from Zutron living here, or whatever your theories are. And that's part of the magic of living in this era. You can read these articles and they say, oh, people are more productive from home. And then you read the articles, people are not so productive from home. But this gentleman from Wales really hit on it. He was very down to earth. And he said, Paulie, we've settled upon 20% less productive. And that's not so bad. If you're a small business and you got 200 employees, or you have 100 employees, or you got even 1,000 employees, 20%, all right, it's a little hit. He said, my company, throughout what's left of the Commonwealth, England, Wales, Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc., we got 250 to almost 300,000 employees. 20% is a heck of a loss of production. And that really floored me. And he said, well, it's time to get back to work. And I can't agree more. I think it's just good for humanity. I think it's good for the modern workplace. I think it's good for everyone overall. And I know it's not popular. People love it. I want to throw a load of laundry in. But things have changed, and the modern workplace is something that I'll continue to observe. And I really appreciate you letting me rant. And if you listen this far, thank you. We really appreciate it. I've enjoyed these podcasts so much. And we have a number of subjects coming up. I have my mailbag I want to open up. We still have some guests. We're hoping to get Amber on here and Callie Rose, and we have the great Jeff out there. We want to talk to Jeff about music, and we have cousin David about the Yankees. We have all these great things planned. It's just a matter of time, so we'll get all that going. But we thank you for tuning in today and really appreciate the support. Thank you. And if you enjoyed the podcast, you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. If you say, hey, Paulie, you're crazy, I have no idea what you're talking about, that's fine too. I'm just a guy from Paterson, New Jersey. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Hey, be kind out there. Be gentle. Be tolerant. Kindness is for free, and it really can only enhance the world. So, hey, we'll see you next time. And thank you so much for tuning in. And for now, bye-bye for now. I got to figure out how to get these people out of here. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.